Hello everybody and welcome to another edition on my Fiesta ST180 series. Now in today's video we're going to be revisiting the Superpro arms. Now if you remember in my last video I fitted the Superpro arms and I gave a bit of an overview and review about how they actually felt, especially with the increased caster. Now there were some comments underneath the video where people had described their arms failing very quickly, and obviously, you know, for my arms were new, so I hadn't experienced that, but they've been on the car a couple of months now, and unfortunately the Superpro arms did actually fail. So the first thing that happened was actually that right arm. There's two things that happened. I'll show you the first part. Was that the rubber boot, which you can probably just see on the camera here, had actually split. So you can actually see here the rubber boot had split, so you can hopefully pick that up on the camera. So my gloves probably getting in the way, but you can see there that the boot has actually split, and what that was basically doing is leaking out all the grease, and this ball joint would fail very quickly. Okay, now the good thing is Superpro did actually send me out a new ball joint, and it was a Febby Bilstein one, and this is their so-called uprated ball joint. So you can see that the pin here is actually a lighter color as compared to the old pin. Now what's interesting, so you can see the difference in color. So if you've got a pin which is the kind of darker color like I had, then that suggests that you've got the old ball joint. The Febby one's a much better unit, and obviously the rubber's higher quality as well. So it's worth, if you are going to get these arms, to make sure at the very least that it's got the lighter colored pin on it. Now unfortunately, and this is important because my arms actually had a build date of 23rd of November 2023 or something like this, so they're relatively new. They're not arms from many years ago where this was quite a common issue. So it seems that Superpro are still keeping hold of these arms with the old ball joints, but more importantly, when I actually removed the arms, when I actually took the arm away from out of the subframe, the rear bush completely came loose. Okay, so that was a major concern. So you can see kind of here the actual arms are pattern parts. They're not the same as what the Ford arms are. So these are actually pattern parts that have these bushes pressed in by Superpro, at least that's to my knowledge. And I have actually bought some Ford arms, which is what I've now fitted to the car. So you can actually see that this was actually causing concern as well. I was feeling some clunking when I was going over very bumpy roads, and the car just didn't feel like it normally does, and I couldn't really put a finger on what it was, but obviously the clunking was concerning, so that's why I jacked up the car, had a good look underneath, and then when I saw that ball joint rubber actually split, that was the time for me to actually then take these arms out. And obviously when this happened, that was for me quite alarming. Now the good thing is that Superpro have actually fully refunded me for these arms, so they were actually great in getting this sorted. The company that actually distributes Superpro products in the UK is called Zeda Corporation, and it was them who I dealt with because I bought these arms from Superpro directly, and they were really great. They issued a refund without any quibble. I just sent some photos of the failure, and so in that respect the company was excellent. The left arm was a little bit better. Obviously the bush is still intact, no issues there, and the rubber boot on this side is okay, but it's only a matter of time before that is going to fail as well. So really, all in all, the Superpro arms have been a little bit disappointing. I don't think I would ever fit them again, which is why I made the decision to buy some genuine Ford arms. And into the rest of this video today, I'm actually going to give you a step-by-step overview of what I did to fit those Ford arms, including the change of the bolts, because those bolts, as I found out from a comment in my last video, are only one-time use. They're torque to yield or stretch bolts. So I bought brand new genuine Ford front suspension bolt, which is 14mm in diameter, and then the rear bush bolt as well. These go into the subframe, and then I also brought the new pinch bolts as well. These are high tensile ones from Puma Speed, and so I brought those pinch bolts, and I basically torqued them all up to spec in the correct way, and this is now what I'm going to show you in the rest of the video. So all in all, the Superpro arms, if I was going to be in a position to buy them again. With the knowledge that I have now, I don't think I would buy them. I think the arm itself is a pattern part. The bushes are probably fine, but obviously the polyurethane part, but obviously the fact that the one bush had just detached after so few miles. We're not even talking about a year's worth of driving. We're talking about 2-3 months, perhaps about 2,000 miles or something, maybe even less than that. And that ball joint rubber splitting as well with the older ones, that poorer quality ones that they use, is also concerning. So I wouldn't buy them again, but let's get on to getting those forward arms into the car and getting it back to how it should be when it came out of the factory. Placing the wishbone into the subframe is relatively simple. Once you've greased the contact points, you just put or place the wishbone in, get it into position, and then you add the front bolt and then the rear bolt. The front one is the bigger 14mm bolt, which is on the Fiesta ST. And then once the bolts are in, you get the ball joint into position as well, but you're not going to put the pinch bolt in just yet. What you're going to do is get a block of wood onto your jack. You're going to lift the jack up, and the idea here is that you're actually getting the wishbone and the bushes in their natural position, so that when you torque up those bolts, those bushes are in their natural position, which is when the wheels are on the ground and there's tension on them. So you achieve that by jacking up the car, and as you're jacking it up, you basically look at the axle stand, and there should be a 5mm clearance from the axle stand, and this is according to the Ford service manual. Once you've achieved that, you can then go ahead and actually tighten the rear bolt, which is 65 Newton meters. So once you've achieved that torque figure, you then do an additional 180-degree turn using an extension bar. Once that's nice and tight, you move on to the front, and here you're looking at 103 Newton meters of torque, followed by a 180-degree turn with an extension bar. So once those two bolts are nice and torqued, nice and tight, you then lower the jack, and you can then actually tighten up the pinch bolt. So put that in, and that is tightened to 52 Newton meters. So that is the job complete. The wishbone, both sides are in, and you can now take the car for an alignment. Now, what I noticed on my offside track rod was that it was quite badly seized, and I know that whenever I go to have an alignment done, they have to apply quite a lot of heat to be able to undo the nut and adjust the track rod end. So I decided to get some genuine Ford track rod, the track rod end, and the boot that covers the track rod as well. So I had that fitted, and then it was on to a wheel alignment, a laser wheel alignment for now, because I do have the car booked in with Suspension Secrets for a full fast road setup. So hopefully I'm going to detail what happens in that video very soon. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I'll hopefully see you again very soon.